Hi. Excuse me. Hi. So in this video, we'll be going over the C# video tutorials. So in this video, we'll be going over copying an array. So we'll just talk about copying an array. So because an array is an object, there's a distinction between an array and the variable that references it. The array and the reference variable. The array and the object reference variable, so the array object and the object reference variable are two different set entities. Or I guess not, maybe, perhaps not the, I guess yeah, actually that's correct. So this is important to remember when you wish to copy the contents of one array to another. So that can be tricky. You can't just do something like this. So I'll just show an example on the screen here. So let's say we have two array fields here. So we have, so I'm not forgetting the private access modifier here. So we have private int array, array1 points to some values. Then if we have a private int array, array2 points to some values, for example, actually sorry, so if we just have an object reference variable here, so for example private int array2 points to array1, nothing's actually going to so we can't access, so it's telling me that we can't access a non-static field array1 in static context. So private int array2 points to array1. That doesn't do anything. Private int. Let's just try this here. That might work. I don't think we've talked about the static keyword yet, so we'll get into that later. But if we have, for example, so basically this won't work, so you have to actually copy each element index. You have to instantiate an array. So let's just before we move on to that, let's just see what else the doc said here. So basically that the first statement creates an array reference by the array1 variable. The second statement assigns array1 to array2. Sorry, array, yeah, that's correct. So this does not copy array1. As you can see, there's an error here. So this does not make a copy of the array reference by array1. Rather, it assigns the reference that is in array1 to array2. After the statement executes, both the array1 and array2 variable will reference the same array. This type of assignment operation is called a reference copy. Only a reference to the array object is copied, not the contents of the array object. This didn't even work. So int array1, unless .NET has changed since these docs. These are old docs a little bit. I'm assuming this book is from around 2016 or earlier. Maybe 2017 or earlier. That's when this program was, I think they created this program in 2017. Like my school. They created this program in 2017. So I believe they've been using the same book since then. I don't think there's been an addition change to this. So int array1 points to, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then int array array2 points to array 1, so that's not even allowing that. It didn't say that it was an error in these docs so far. So if you want to make a copy of an array, you must create a second array in memory and then copy the individual elements of the first array to the second. So you'd have to use a double loop. So you'd have to loop one to point to the other one. That's one way to do it. There's also methods. For example, Java has like arrays.copy or something. There's methods. There might be support methods that you can use, but these are just trying to get the. I think these docs are just trying to get the kind of the theory that you can't do this. You may try to do it and see that it didn't work, so I guess they're just trying to show that. That may happen with objects. Like this may work with variables, but it perhaps may not work with all or most objects. So what we can do is we can take this out. So we could say private int array array2. Actually, so above this, let's have a constant here. So we'll say constant int size points to 5. Yeah, sorry, private int constant size. Private int, sorry, we should have private constant int size points to 5. And we'll take this out. So then we have private int array2, private, well, we can call this first array, this one's second array. So private int first array is using an initialization list. Then the second one is private int second array. So we can instantiate this to an array, private int second array points to new int, passing in array and then array of index size. So private int array second array points a new int of array index size. Okay, so even now, I'm just wondering, so let's just see what else these docs say here. So these are two different arrays, I believe, sorry, I just hit the mic back in. So, let me do a list box here. We could have done this in a console app. Okay. That's fine. So we'll just continue on with that. I believe you'd have to use a loop, so even if you pointed this second array, so if we just went to, like, for example, second array, the same thing that we tried to do before, points the first array, why is it not? Second array. It's not letting me access that here. Okay, let's go on the constructor then. If we try to say second array points to first array, I don't think it would print out the elements. So I believe you'd have to use a loop. So you'd have to go, I just want to test that because it depends on the language, I think. So if we go second, okay, so let's just go for the list box here. So we'll have a list box. Let's say we have a list box here below. So list box points a new list box. Sorry, private list box points a new list box. So then here we could go with, so that's we can just do it as a field like that. Then here we could say, okay, let's just do it like this. Okay, that's fine. So then here, let's just go here for listbox dot name points to listbox. And here we'll go with listbox dot, what else do we need? So we'd want to just place it on the form at some place. We could go with listbox.location, points a new point, pass in a location. We could go listbox.font points to new font. Then here say listbox dot font family, comma, let's just say 20. That can work. What's wrong with this? Oh, sorry, this L should maybe be lowercase. Okay, so then now we'll add this to the controls, so we'll say controls.add. So controls.add. So controls.add listbox. Okay, let's just see if that, let's comment this one out. Save that and run it I'm just gonna check if it comes up. It's not gonna show up for you guys, but let's just see what happens. Should be fine. Okay, so let's go with listbox.size. Points a new size, we'll pass in, for example, 200 by 200 as well. Oh, sorry, that should be capital. So we have that. There we go, so we have a list box. So now we'll go second array points to first array. We'll go for int. Actually, let's use a for each loop, so we'll say for each val in second array. So we could do this, we could output kind of both the elements. So we could loop through these, print them, print a string, and then loop through these and print them and see if it'll print. So we'll go for each val in first array. Sorry. We should go int val in first array. Okay, I'll just do that one more time. So for each int val in first array, just not to confuse anyone, and then here we'll have we'll go items. Okay, we'll reference a list box. So listbox.items.add. Here we'll add val. Oops, what's happening here? Then we'll go okay, actually that's fine. Then we'll say it again. For each int val in second array. What the hell happened there? Oh, it's not working. Keyboard's locked or something. There we go. So we have for each int val in second array, then we'll say listbox.items.add val. Let's just try that. Save it and run. So I'm going to hit Control S and then run. That work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What would have happened if we didn't do this? So we commented that out. Let's try this. That does, okay. Let's try that. Should be all zeros. No, still works. Why is it working? Private int first array points to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Private int, maybe it's still using val, that's why. Let's try that. I could have went with val too. Oh, still working. I don't think they're, okay, yeah, so private int first array points to this. Private int second array, that's just an object reference variable. Second array points to first array. Okay. Private int first array, so we have this initialization list, private int second array. What was the, yeah, so that should, perhaps it's, perhaps it won't always work. In some cases it might. I think we did try it and it didn't work. Or is that perhaps just passing in, when we tried to use the ref keyword? In most cases, if this doesn't work, then what we can do is that we can say, we can use a loop here, so we can, let's keep this as new size. What's happening with this? Oh, we have that there. Okay, so let's take these loops out. So we'll take these loops out here. So here we can say for int index points to 0, index is less than first array. So for int index points to 0, index is less than first array dot length. Index plus plus. Here we'll say second array of array index index. So we're using this access variable to kind of iterate through the length of first array. And say we're okay, then we're going to say, okay, well, we're using that index value to point to the array index of the second array and also to the first array. We're accessing those with the, so we're kind of doing, we're using index here for both arrays. We're saying the second array of array index index, so in this case for the first iteration is going to be 0 points to first array first array of array index index. So second array of array index 0 is going to point to 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. That's the way, this is the safest way. This way might work, might not work in other cases if you're trying to pass them around to different methods and all that. So this is the best thing to do. It's pretty easy. And then here we could go again for each val in second array. Sorry, for each int val in second array. Then we can say down here, listbox.items.add val. Save and run. Okay, so we have both. So second array was copied. This is the safest way to copy it, so I guess just stick with this way. I just stick with that. Alright, so I'm just going to continue on. We'll continue on with comparing arrays. So comparing arrays, you cannot use the is equal to operator, so that's this operator. Or points, I sometimes say points too, but basically just the double equal signs operator. So you cannot use the double equal sign operator to compare two array reference variables and determine whether the arrays are equal. For example, the following code appears to compare two arrays, but in reality it does not. Okay, so what's happening here is, for example, we have these two arrays like this. Int array first array points to, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, we already had a first array. Let's just go with array 2, array 1 and array 2, or array and array 2. So here we'll say private int array. Array 2 points to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops, that didn't work. So we have two arrays with the same values. So you might try to check if they're equal, if both arrays are equal. So if you wanted to say, for example, so if you wanted to check here if array points to array 2 or is equal to array 2, message box dot show equal, whoops, else you could say message box dot show not equal. But there's a warning here, so let's see what it says. So that's not going to work. So that's a mistake. So if we just check 44, the warning on 40, whatever it says. What number is that? So the 41. It says warning similar expressions comparison. Okay. So basically you can't just check, you can't just compare two arrays like that. What's going to happen though if you run this? So let's try that. So what's going to happen if we run this? So let's see. So if array points to array, sorry, that was wrong. If array points to array 2, message box.show, so pop up a dialog box that says equal, otherwise pop up a dialog box that says not equal. So let's just see what happens. So I'm just going to run it and tell you guys what happens here. It says not equal. So even though the arrays, so I can try it. I think I can understand. I can try to give you guys a good explanation why. The reason why is that each of these objects, what's happening here is that since these are objects, it's not checking if the objects, it's not checking if the objects that the object's data that is storing is equal. It's checking if the memory locations are equal. So that's basically telling that the memory locations are not equal. So it's doing a memory location comparison because they're objects, rather than checking the values. So when you use the double equal sign operator with reference variables, the operator compares the references that the variables contain. So when you use a double sign, sorry, I'll just repeat this. So when you use a double sign, the double equal sign operator with reference variables, so we're comparing here two object reference variables rather than two variables. The operator compares the references that the variables contain, so pretty much the memory locations, not the contents of the objects referenced by the variables or the data. So the contents of the objects are the data. Because the first array and second array variables in this example reference different objects in memory, the result of the Boolean expression first array is it equal to second array is false, or points to second array is false, and the code reports that the arrays are not the same. So this statement checks if the object's memory locations are the same rather than the data values. So hopefully that makes sense. So to compare the contents of two arrays, you must compare the elements of the two arrays. For example, you'll have to use a loop again. So to compare the contents of two arrays, you must compare the elements of the two arrays. For example, we could do something like this. So we have int array. So private int array points to some values, and private int array 2 points to some other, well, the same values. What's happening here? This should have been spaced out. So it's array and array 2, we have that. Let's have a flag variable here. So Boolean arrays equal. Points to true. Sorry, I think this should be bool. So private bool arrays equal points to, actually sorry, why is it true first? Okay, well, so we're setting it to true first. So then here we'll say int index points to 0. Then here, down here we'll check Actually, let's just go with private int I points to 0. So then down here, so first we can determine if the arrays are the same size. I think we can take this this out. We can take this out. So here we can say if first array, actually no, what do we call this? Array and array 2. So if array dot length is not equal second array dot length. Sorry, no. We call this array 2 dot length. So if array dot length is not equal array 2 dot length, arrays equal points to false. Then we could have another while loop here. We could say while we could say while arrays, we could say, so here we'll say while arrays equal, so what's happening with that? While arrays equal, oh, forgot the S there, that's why. While arrays equal and index is less than, sorry, we said I, so while I is less than array dot length, call it array, yep, array dot length for the first one. So while arrays equal and I is less than array dot length, we'll open a block, then here we'll have an if block, and then we'll say if array of array index I does not equal array 2 of array index I. So if any one of the index is not equal, then the whole flag gets set to. So then here we'll set array equal to false. Array is equal to false. We'll increment I at the bottom, so I points to I plus 1. Then below all that, another if. If array is equal, which means if array is equal points to true, then we'll say message box dot show the arrays are equal. Another else. Else message box dot show the arrays are not equal. Data structure is getting my typing better, making less mistakes. Alright, so yeah, I noticed my typing was really good during data structures because there were so many lines. Like when I did the Java data structures. But the rest of the codes haven't been as intense since then. Actually, well, I hadn't uploaded everything, but I'll try to get everything out. So for example, here we have, it's going to tell us if the arrays are equal or not. So I'll save that, I'll run it. And tell us if the arrays are equal or not. So it's telling us that the arrays are equal. Alright, so we're getting on to 40 minutes there, so we'll probably end this one because the videos are going to get too long. So in the next video we'll go on to totaling the values in an array. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys like the video, you can like and subscribe to support the channel for more programming and investing tutorials. In the next one we'll go over totaling the values of an array. Basically just doing some math operations with them. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.